before me and the speakers who were here prior to my having been on stage, can we please give each of them a round of applause? Thank you very much. And of course, most importantly to yourselves, the delegates who've come to join us here today, can I get a sense, who was here circa 2023 when we all gathered in exactly this room? Hands up if you were here that time. Good. And so who's here for the first time? This is amazing, incredible, absolutely incredible. Give yourselves a round of applause. Absolutely well done. Is even if they know what you know, they don't carry the grace that you carry.
Yeah.
So what you and I need to understand then is that more important is whether or not you're operating in your place of grace, which is the third point. Are you in alignment with what you are called to do? This is why there are so many of us who run Me Too businesses. So-and-so did it, and who's going to do it? Me too. And we all operate our business like Naidus. No one does it better than I do. Those are jokes, but I'll explain them later. And so the real question for you, one is, what is your appetite for pain? Two is, with whom are you building? And three is, are you in alignment? Last year, the year prior, when we were together, you would remember, those who were in the room, I went deep and technical about how to build a business. Here's what I have learned in the past 2 years, is that I could be technically proficient and fail. Because even though I'm technically proficient, my timing is right, my capital is adequate, my people are talented, the market is ready, I am not in alignment with what I am called to do. So my having stood on this, or kneeled on this stage to bring my Lord and Savior into this moment wasn't for you guys, it wasn't to show. I would have done it in an empty room if they would have allowed me to come here before you got here. But it was because I was asking of my Lord and Savior, bring me into alignment. That the thing you would want every single heart into this room to leave here with, use me as the vessel to say it. Young people, I came to tell you here today, we don't have time to play. So all of us need to start asking the question, am I doing what I am called to do? Am I in alignment? In alignment. You know, the hard thing about gathering the way we have gathered here today is we all come from different backgrounds, different creeds and different religions. We see the world differently. We are socialized differently. I recall having a discussion with at the time, he was a rather famous radio DJ back in my country, South Africa. He's now late. And he was talking to me about his relationship with his maker. And he said, you know, I don't believe in God. I said, that's all good. You don't need to believe in God. He believes in you. That's why he's placed you where he's placed you. There's nothing more painful than trying to fight with your maker. Believe me, you lose that fight. Every single day. Don't believe me? Ask Jonah. Believers know what I'm talking about. You remember him, right? Sent to one place, went to another. And he was called back to where they sent him. Called back to where they sent him. So first question, what's your appetite for pain? What is your appetite for pain? The truth of it is a big part of the reason I accepted the invitation to be here. I had other commitments which I cancelled to be here. And I'm not saying that to buy your face, it's genuinely because I stand constantly in awe of the work that Frame and the team did. But don't tell him I said that. And the reason is because I recognize he has the education, the skills, the networks, and the opportunity that he could, as they say in Nigeria, japa and be in another part of the world. But he's here because of his appetite for pain. His appetite for pain. Second, the last time I was here in 2023, I watched around him a team of people who understood this, that the mission was more important than the man. And so it was with whom he is building. Third was that he is in alignment. And fourth thing I want you to make a note of is the statement I just made. The minute you find your mission supersedes you. You know, one of the things I find very difficult about what it is that I do, I'm a technically trained person. I work in technical stuff. I read income statements and balance sheet for breakfast, and I'm not just making that up. It's one of my favorite things to do is I will go and publish or print a company's latest financial statements, and then for breakfast I will be sat in my office and I will literally read the balance sheet. I find it fascinating calculating the covenants of a company and reading the notes of the income statement and trying to work out where they're going to be before 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm a technical guy, but as technical as I am, I recognize that all things that are technical work in a place that's spiritual. And so the question for each of us in this room is, have you found your mission? Your mission, the thing you are called to do. And then do you recognize that that thing is more important than you? Mission before man, not man before mission. If you've ever hired people and struggled with egos in the room, it's usually because they think man is more important than mission. So for us, what we've seen happen sometimes is you bring people into an organization, you train them, you skill them, and as the company grows, you need to bring in a different set of skills and competencies. And some people in the organization don't like the fact that someone who's external joins the company senior than them who've been there longer. And so what happens is they begin to self-sabotage the organization from within, trying to dial back the progress of the business, not recognizing that it isn't the man, it's the mission. Years ago, I had a young man I hired who was part of my social media team, and he was incredibly talented, this young man, as an operator and an executor, but he had very little experience doing strategic work. And so we needed somebody who was going to do the work at strategy level, because the company was branching out into different things with different businesses, and we needed a single person who could build a strategy that could make sense. He didn't have the exposure, the experience for this. So what did I do? I said to him, you're going to find your boss. I'm giving you the opportunity to hire your boss. So he wrote the spec for the job, published the job, managed the candidates who came in for the interview, sat in the interview with me as we interviewed each of these candidates. And then I hired one. And after I hired her, his temperament changed. Suddenly he started sabotaging what he believed was her, not recognizing he was sabotaging the mission. We had a very public launch that we were doing at the time, and I'll never forget, he was charged with inviting all of our stakeholders and friends in media. So what does he do? He waits until Thursday, when the launch is happening on Saturday, to send out the launches. Now, if you've worked with media before, you know that media planners are scheduling their time 2 to 3 weeks in advance. Issuing the invitation on Thursday was him saying, I've done the job, but knowing full well he didn't do it well enough for it to be successful. And so when I sat with him in conversation at the time when I was firing him, I said to him, here's why I'm firing you. It's not because you're good, it's because you have not yet learned that not even I am important in the mission of what we're building. So the question for all of us in this room, what is your mission? What is your mission? What is the thing you're going to do that's going to be the thing that brings you to the impact and meaning in the world? What is your mission? I love the pink. Very nice. I almost wore pink myself. Doesn't go with my eyes. Number five. So let's recap. First, we asked the question, what is my appetite for pain, not my tolerance for it? You know, tolerance means I endure it. Appetite means I look for it. I'm willing to do the thing that I need to do, even if I don't feel like doing it. I look for it. By the way, as you grow, the world will test you. Make no mistake about it. What's my appetite for pain? What's appetite for pain? Thank you for my coffee. Who was it that sent me a note just now on Instagram and said, am I addicted to coffee? Why am I always holding coffee when I'm on stage? One of you, who was it? Who said that? You bastard. What is my appetite for pain? With whom am I building? Whom am I building? Is man more important than mission, or is mission more important than man? Am I in alignment and operating in alignment with the things that I'm called to do? The fifth thing, that is a question you must answer if you're going to be intentional about leaving a legacy. What are my demons? Now notice the question is, what are my demons, not who. You know, some of us, please God, Margaret from next door, strike head down, strike head down. Listen. I have come to, and take this with the humility that I can say this, I have come to learn the hard way that even the people that offend me are me. The worse off you are in pursuing the mission. I'm almost sure that there is a directly proportional relationship between how loudly people clap for you and how well you're doing in pursuing the thing you're called to do. So my first demon was the demon of being liked. And let me tell you, nothing will exercise that demon off you like Twitter. So to all of you who have attacked me, I want to thank you very, very much. You have healed me from this demon. Because what happens is, first, when you get attacked, you assume that the person attacking you is like you, fair and reasonable. Often, they themselves are dealing with their own demon. And the worst thing is that you, in dealing with yours, are flaring up the demon in them. Ooh, that's so good. Only all the people in the room will get it. There were instances where I would walk into the boardroom and I would be the youngest person in the room. And then I would start a conversation, and then I would be the most fluent person speaking in the room. And then I would recognize that there were older people who didn't have the opportunities I had to get the education I got, to live the life I lived, and just of seeing me saw a demon of who they could have been. And suddenly, what would happen is, behind my back, they would try and sabotage me. I didn't recognize that what I had done in trying to live my life was to flare up their demons. And so, for those of us who need to be liked, it becomes very difficult to confront in those situations. That was my first demon. And let me tell you, it took me much of my 20s and the first half of the decade of my 30s to face that demon head on and deal with it. Today, you can say whatever you want. But if I'm good with the big guy, I'm good. Because ultimately, all of us here will stand in judgment at some day or another. And by the way, nobody passes judgment more than the person who has the most to be judged about. If you ever dated a gaslighter, you'll know what I'm talking about. Some of you can't laugh, they're sitting right next to you. That was my first demon. And then my second demon, and I will close with this. When I was younger, my father started a business. I was just edging on 10 years old, and my dad left his job to go and start a business. And he went and raised some money, I want to believe, from the bank, and he used our home as collateral to raise the money. This is back when our parents' generation, you know that our parents' generation could actually afford homes. Yes? Yes. It's so difficult to afford homes for our generation. So difficult. We were just having a conversation this morning about the real estate prices in Nairobi. I mean, it's crazy. But you know what else is true? Go check the real estate prices in Kampala. Have a look at the real estate prices in Kings. All across the continent, the minute you find the metropolitan centers where much of the commercial opportunity happens, the real estate prices are so high that even with a master's level education, a decent paying job, you still can't afford that home again. It's the legacy that the past generation is giving to our generation. Economies that are so disjointed from reality that those who have resources can buy more resources and those who don't can't even get on the ladder to acquire assets. It's a serious problem. So my mom and dad had a home, and they went and put the home in bond, got money, bought a car, and they used the car for the business. The business went under, the bank came after the car, and then the bank came after the house. My father was very smart. We had a yard that was kind of fenced in, and so what my dad did is he went and bought 2 German Shepherds. And he called them Boss and Danger. The names are important because in South Africa, where I'm from, if you are black and you have a dog, the name of the dog is a job description. White people give their pets names like Tootsie, Michael, and Stephen, or Helen. We name their dogs stuff like Danger, Kilde, Genocide. Truly giving the dog a sense of identity. So we had these 2 massive German Shepherds, Boss and Danger, and the sheriff came to collect the home, and of course the sheriff couldn't access our home, and we had to leave our home and go and live with my grandfather. It was a very difficult time. Then we left our grandfather's home and went to live with my mother's sister, my aunt, for a period of time. And we were traveling every single morning on a train from a different part of town into the part of town where I grew up and would go to school. And this was at the time when my aunt was living in a part of town that hadn't yet been electrified. And so we were quite literally living with candlelights and studying with the candlelights for that rather brief period. And then in the early mornings we would wake up and we would go outside and have to make fire. You ever had to make fire so that you can make fire for the stove so that you can warm up the water that you're going to use to wash? Anybody else ever had this? So did you guys all grow up in very nice fancy parts of town and you're rich? Go, hands up, nice and high, that's okay. We know you're here today with your weaves, but this is how we grew up. It was rough. This is long before the weave was a weave. Back then, if you had a perm, you were doing good. And so this was kind of how we were. And then my father kind of worked his way back up, rebuilt himself. And as he was getting into the momentum of rebuilding himself, my father was tragically murdered. He was gunned down and shot 9 times. So the demon I dealt with was that I got to watch my dad suffer, but I never got to watch my dad prosper. The problem is that I made suffering virtuous. And so even when suffering wasn't necessary, I would seek it. Sometimes the things that are going to fundamentally change your life don't require suffering. Sometimes you were called into that meeting for the right reason. And what some of us should do is we take this, I like the expression that they use in Silicon Valley, idea of struggle pornography. That it is only worthwhile if I have struggled for it. And even when the struggle isn't necessary, you manufacture it. You get in your own way. You self-sabotage. You show up late for meetings. You don't prepare enough. You don't take the right opportunities. Is anybody recognizing what I'm talking about? Have you done any of this? So what I would do is if something came too easy, I would go, problem, let me make it difficult for myself. Not recognizing that because I'm operating in a space of alignment, it is supposed to come easy. It was put in my path. All I had to do was find the path. This is good, right? Yeah. And so what I hope for you here today is that you will truly have the tenacity, the courage, the will, most importantly, the wisdom to face those demons, deal with those demons, attack those demons. Because if you don't do it, they only amplify as you get older. And it becomes a lot harder to leave a legacy when you haven't even started trying to build one. Thank you so much, everybody. I arrived there and You know, sometimes like when you go to church, especially in the US, you always have that picture of how they do church. You know, the pastor was, I believe.
Church.
So I arrive at the church, and this is what I'm expecting. And the first thing I notice is there are too many white people. So now I'm nervous because I don't know if they're going to do the praise Jesus. But you know, if you walk into church, you can't breathe. Especially because they've got those elders that preach at the door.
Yeah.
So if you walk up, you must now explain where are you going. So I'm like, oh, let us sit here and watch where this goes. So I listen to this. So I find a row at the back, and I'm sat, and then an Asian man comes up. I think it is the First Pentecostal Church or something like this of Los Angeles. And so an Asian man gets up on stage, and he turns out that he's going to be the priest. He's inviting an invited guest to come and speak. If I say to you, the first 3 rows sat here, there are more of you than there were people in that whole church. It was empty. And then, as I'm sitting in the church, the people coming in are homeless. How do I know they're homeless? First, you can see a homeless person.
Yeah.
Second, you can smell them. And so I'm at the back, maybe 2-3 rows from the back. There's a guy who's 5 rows in front of me, and if I go, I can taste it. In my brain, true story, I'm like, I need to leave. I came for church. I wanted, praise Jesus, that's what I came for. And Dolly, I heard God saying, I run access control here, not you.
Ooh.
This is not church. I'm not here to impress you. I'm the one who brings people into that door, not you. So you need to decide if you're here for the people or if you're here for the word. And so now I sat and I listened, and the speaker probably was unbelievable. He spoke a message that I needed to hear. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is what you need to separate between what you believe and what you perceive. I was there and I perceived a particular environment. It didn't match up with what I was thinking. So in my head, I was like, I'm not sure I want to stay in. You know, all of these homeless people, and here I am, not good. But the message is the message. So if I could minister you to just to say, don't try to find people, find God. And the rest really will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Generations take power. They don't ask for it. The question for you and I is, are we willing to do what we need to do to build the future that we need? I must tell you that I'm very nervous about this for myself personally, because I'm turning 40 in about 20 days. Very, very nervous. I was always the young, good-looking guy. I know how to do that. It's true, man. Did you laugh because it's not true? Are you laughing at the young part or the good-looking part? I saw you look at me when I came in. I saw you. Not a joke. I turned 40 in 20 days, and so one of the things I've been asking myself has been, what will be my legacy? You know, when you're in your 20s, you're in the era of experimentation, and you test and try. The very first time I traveled to your beautiful country, Kenya, I was speaking at the KICC, and I was in my early 20s. I think I was 24 or 23 at the time. It was a very, very different country back then. Very, very different. There had just been some political contestation. You could see the ferment of what was happening on the ground, and a new generation coming into driving the levers of power, even in this country. And I remember that time very, very vividly. Very vividly. And today, 20 years later, give or take, it's a very different place. So I've been asking myself the question, what does my legacy look like? And what will our legacy, each of us, look like? So here are some notes for us then. First,